3.4 to go. And the Warriors will get their first play-in victory. 121-116. Curry hits them both. Steph's got 37. Play-in Butler's got 38. Bain stops. Pump fake. Won't get the shot off in time. And that's it. The Warriors. It's on to Houston. And for the fourth time in the Curry-Draymond Kerr era, the Warriors will play the Houston Rockets in the playoff series. The final score here from Chase Center. Warriors 121, Memphis 116.
And for the first time in the history of the Golden State Warriors, Mark Grandy, they've won a play-in game.
Wow, history.
I mean, it sucks that none of these stats are going to go anywhere, and this game is essentially in the eye of the National Basketball Association, all for naught. But to Warriors fans, this is obviously a very important game. A big game from Jimmy Butler, from Steph Curry, some questionable calls at best down the stretch. The Warriors find a way to survive. Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bain, John Morant, and the Memphis Grizzlies sending them to play the winner of the 9-10 game, and instead they secure a first-round postseason series, the 7th seed in the Western Conference, and a date with the Houston Rockets on Sunday. This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings, Mark Grandy, 2-for-1 special. Shout out R.C. Davis. And the final tonight for the Golden State Warriors, 121-116. A back-and-forth affair in which the Warriors had a lead early, a pretty sizable one at 1 point, 20 points. Memphis digs back into it. They kind of jockey back and forth toward the tail end of the third and into the fourth, and then Memphis makes their late push. The Warriors eventually fight them off. Curry with 2 big late threes. Butler over the course of the game, sensational. Overall, just a spectacular one to watch at Chase Center tonight.
Yeah, Butler was amazing through 3 quarters. He finishes this game with 38 points. He had 34 of them through 3, and then he kind of handed the baton off to Steph, who took the Warriors home in the fourth quarter. Steph finishes with 37 points. He had 15 of those in the fourth, and it was the first time, really, maybe since peak Klay Thompson a couple of times. You got to go back to the Kevin Durant era. The Warriors have had that kind of 1-2 punch offensively from their 2 stars. And they needed every single one of those points from those 2 guys because they did not get a ton of help elsewhere. But when your great offensive players play at that level, it's difficult to beat you. And that's what happened. I mean, 37 for Steph, 38 for Jimmy Butler. By the skin of their teeth, they got it done. I know you mentioned some questionable calls. There were some weird ones down the stretch. The Warriors also kind of did it to themselves at times down the stretch. Up by 6 with a minute left. That shouldn't really become a game at the very end. And it did. Warriors, though, they find a way to win. And as we said on Warriors Live earlier today, Evan, you had to have this one because your season not officially over if you lost, but it was just about going to be. And now you feel like you got a puncher's chance against Houston coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, and both of us pretty much spot on with the way we thought this game was going to play out. A close game. You thought it was going to be a low game for Jaren Jackson Jr. I felt like we were going to see a more aggressive Jimmy Butler, more specifically on the boards. But overall, I mean, he got pretty much whatever he wanted, again, like you said, through the first 3 quarters of this game. And the combination of him and Steph, the 2 aces in your deck, essentially, to me is why I think a lot of people in the first place believe the Warriors have a chance to do something special in the postseason. And before we begin to talk about Houston, we'll have a lot of time to do it over the coming days. But this win, I think, just affirms that if you can get that kind of level of play from those 2 players, you can still win a playoff game. And I know that against the last 3 home opponents they've had, Houston, Jimmy Butler only took 7 shots. Against San Antonio, a big letdown game. Obviously, their last contest against the Clippers, it was a tight game, but they were just outbested in overtime. This game, it was, I thought, a great sign to see those 2 players, especially on the heels of the 48 minutes that Butler played on Sunday.
Man. He didn't look that tired.
No, in fact, he looked invigorated. I thought the Warriors as a whole looked a little sloppy. They went down 11-3 to begin the game. They looked a little tired, I thought, coming out of the gates. But you also got to credit Memphis because they were essentially playing for something as well.
No, they were. And John Morant goes down with what looked like a pretty gnarly ankle sprain based on how he reacted. He came back in the game. Desmond Bane carried the Grizzlies. He was awesome in this game. You didn't get a ton from Jaren Jackson Jr. if you're the Grizzlies, but I mean, I got to credit Memphis for keeping it close. I don't know how you felt. We weren't sitting next to each other on press row, but for me, once the Warriors got up by 20, right, it was 55-35, about 7 to go in the second quarter. And from that point on, not that I felt like the game was over, but it felt like the Warriors just had absolutely dominated. And even once Memphis made their run, they went on a 7-0 run to close the first quarter at one point. They began the third on a 17-9 run to get within 4. Ultimately, they get within 1 with about 4 to go in the third. I look up at the scoreboard, still feeling like the Warriors had been controlling that basketball game, and it's like a 1, 2, 3-point game, and suddenly you get the nervous energy inside of Chase. You have Steph playing an entire fourth quarter. You have Jimmy playing essentially all but 2 minutes of the final 16 minutes of that basketball game. The Warriors needed not every single point that those guys scored, but every single second that those guys played. I mean, 48 minutes for Jimmy on Sunday, 39 minutes and 43 seconds today. Steph played nearly 39 as well. This was really, really hard fought, and the Warriors absolutely needed that from their stars, and they got it, because today was a day where you didn't get a ton from Podziemski offensively. He only had 3 points on 7 field goal attempts. Draymond Green only scored 4. He was doing good things defensively elsewhere, also had 10 assists, but only 4 points. Moody hit a couple of big shots. He only had 9. You got some nice effort out of Quentin Post, specifically in the first half, and GP2 was pretty solid throughout, but not a lot of scoring punch elsewhere. And the Steph and Jimmy combo really had to do the heavy lifting. And when you ask why the Warriors had to make a deal at the deadline for Jimmy Butler, it was for games like this where you get what you're going to get from Steph, but you're kind of uncertain about the rest of the roster. The Warriors, of course, do not win this game without Jimmy Butler. They probably lose by 20 points.
Yeah, no, I mean, even though Steph was awesome, look, he scored 15 in the fourth quarter, hit those 2 late threes, and then kind of helped seal it at the free throw line. Oh, by the way, I think he played all but 1 second of the fourth quarter. It's like he was awesome. They're not in that position to win the game without Jimmy.
No.
And this was, Tim Roy said it on the final call, play in Jimmy. And if this is a preview of what you can get in the postseason, then I'm very excited for the Warriors'
Jimmy
prospects.
going to be better than this? I don't know how you can't be better.
I mean,
maybe at the free throw line. That's
I was going to say he's probably not going to go 12 of 18 at the free throw line. And in fact, he had 5 straight trips to the stripe where he split, and it was just like, who is this guy? But still, even the 7 assists, the 6 rebounds, 3 steals in this game. Look, he did it all. Yeah, I mean, the one sin that he committed was at the free throw line, but other than that, he was just about perfect. And this is who the Warriors traded for. It's someone that I think gives them a lot of belief that they can sustain the sort of ebbs and flows of Steph Curry, because at this stage in his career, he's still awesome. But there's going to be a few more times when a team like Memphis, and you're going to see it a lot from Houston in the first round, they're going to just hound him. And you were spot on. Pre-game said they were going to start Scottie Pippen Jr., and he was clawing Curry just like the Houston Rockets did last Sunday, or 2 Sundays ago, I should say. And so Steph is not always going to be able to get his. I think also he had a tough shooting night to start just in general. He missed, I think, 2 open 3-pointers.
Yeah.
The Warriors as a whole missed 4 in the first 5 minutes, and it was a bit frustrating to watch, but that's why you have Jimmy, to get you some of those easier looks, and to also run a second unit that was probably, just based on the way this game finished, it's not going to be anywhere near the forefront of the lead. But I thought the second unit, to your point about building the 20-point lead, it was GP2, Quentin Post, and even Guy Santos. All 3 of them were great off the bench.
Quentin Post was awesome in the first half, and I think he hit another 3 in the second half. But in that first half specifically, his first postseason run, if playing is technically postseason, first non-regular season run, he came in and hit a couple of 3s. He blocked Edey at the rim. He held his own. I know you want to talk about Edey, but
no. I was going to say on the replay, from our angle, I thought it was a block at first.
Was it not?
On the replay, it looked like he might have got him.
Oh, a
but
foul.
they didn't call it. They didn't call it.
Hey, he stood tall against a 7'4" big man.
The refs blew worse calls later in the game.
They did.
So.
Rookie on a rookie. But I thought Post, even if we forget about that block, I thought Post was awesome in this game. Guy Santos' energy, he was exactly what Steve Kerr was talking about pregame. Steve Kerr felt like he made a mistake by not playing Guy Santos on Sunday versus the Clippers. He plays Guy Santos. Guy immediately fights for an offensive rebound, gets the ball back, has an and one. He's diving on the floor for loose balls. I thought Quentin Post and Guy Santos, big energy boost for the Warriors. I also think it's interesting, Evan, how we're seeing this Warrior team develop. You mentioned in the non-Steph minutes and the bench squad led by Jimmy Butler, even when Steph is on the floor and when the Warriors are on the wrong side of a run, like what happened early in the third when Memphis went on a 17-9 run to begin the second half. They get back within 4. What do the Warriors do? With Steph on the floor, they clear a side, they throw it to Jimmy, they say, Jimmy, go to work. He gets to the free throw line. He split the free throws, but he gets to the line. Next possession, Jaren Jackson Jr. has the ball along the perimeter. I think Moody's checking him, and Jimmy Butler comes from the weak side, pokes the ball away from behind, and has an easy fast break dunk as he beats Desmond Bane down the floor. The Warriors are getting to a point where they're getting in trouble. They're getting in a bad spot, and the momentum is all on the other side. Even when Steph is on the floor, they're saying, all right, Jimmy, like, go do you. We're going to give you this ball. Be aggressive. This is your time to score. And tonight, he answered that call just about every single time he had the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and also, you have to credit Memphis. I think the reason why I never felt like they were out of the game was honestly the way that they finished the first quarter, when Desmond Bane had a couple of straight line drives off of two pods missed threes, who didn't play particularly well in this game. And then Kennard hits the kind of buzzer beater at the end of the first.
Yeah, 7-0 run.
Yeah, and it goes from 13 down to 6 immediately. And so it's like, all right, well, they're probably going to have some sort of counterpunch, and that sort of continued throughout the game, even as the Warriors built their leads. But that's the way the postseason basketball goes. Teams are going to make runs. 20 points are not what they used to be in the NBA, and as much as you would love to see a team be able to sustain them, I thought that the Warriors, if anything, the reason why Memphis was able to make the kind of runs that they did in this game is because their role players stepped up when they needed to, and for the majority of the game, at least on the offensive end of the floor, Curry and Butler just did not have that much help. Yes, Gary Payton hit a couple of open threes. Post, to your point, had some 3-point makes, but all of that was in the first half.
Yeah.
They really didn't get much from their bench in terms of scoring in the second half, and they just kind of got walked down by Memphis. Desmond Bane was awesome, especially in that third quarter when he had 11 points. I thought that Jaren Jackson Jr. got better as the game went along. I do think he was playing a little timid at the start, and so... and also once, Memphis and Ja went down, I think they had to spread things out a little bit. They made some threes. They got back in this game. And I was just afraid that the Warriors were going to run out of gas towards the end, which is something that we've seen as of late in some of their losses.
Yeah, no, I was scared of that too, considering the load that all these guys played, specifically Sunday versus the Clippers. Only one day off. Now you've got this game here on Tuesday, and you had to play major minutes in this game as well. But they didn't really seem to wear down at all. I thought the Warriors defensively did a pretty good job on the interior. This is a really big and tall Memphis team, and regardless how you feel about Zach Edey or Jaren Jackson Jr., I mean, those two struggled inside. Jaren Jackson was 6 for 15 from the field, 4 for 9 from downtown, so 2 for 6 on twos, and Zach Edey, who's just a paint player, 4 for 11, and whenever he got the ball, generally he had an advantage. He has a height advantage on everybody that he plays. He's 7'4", and specifically versus any Warrior defender, the Warriors just collapsed relentlessly on him, and I don't know how many turnovers he had on those sorts of plays. He finished with 4 in this game in total. Warriors dominated the turnover battle. 20 turnovers for Memphis, 10 for the Warriors. I thought the game plan defensively for the Warriors was really good. The only one that kind of got away from them was Desmond Bane. But when you're trying to take away the paint, you're going to give up some outside shots, and Bane took advantage. But I thought specifically in the paint, considering the Warriors' size disadvantage, I thought they did a pretty good job in there.
Yeah, and if Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to take 9 threes, I think you'll take that. It's not that he's a bad three-point shooter.
Made 4 of them.
Yeah, no, but in general, you're going to live with a power forward staying outside of the paint and not trying to punish you, especially when Draymond Green got into foul trouble late in that game. He ended up fouling out, but JJJ is a guy that could make things even more difficult on Draymond Green. Speaking of which, I thought that it was very unique that at the beginning of the game and kind of throughout this game, to try and make up for the lack of size, Draymond individually was doing it a lot, but the Warriors as a whole were just tapping the ball out.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of trying to go up and grab a rebound, which you can't over the head of a 7'3" player or maybe a young, spry Jaren Jackson Jr., Draymond would just tip it towards the free throw line where there was probably a Warrior that was going to be able to get to it. And, I mean, another plus in this game is the fact that you won even though you were minus 15 on the boards. That's something that is a little bit of a red flag on the heels of the Clippers loss as well, and moving forward you'd like to see that corrected. But as a whole, the fact that the Warriors won this basketball game while being out-rebounded as drastically as they were, I think points to their ability to come through in other areas. And tonight, it was probably at the free throw line against a team that also gets to the free throw line quite a bit.
Yeah, on the rebound front, I am apologize to any of you out there who picked the over Draymond rebounds. I'm not sure exactly what it was set at, but he had to miss like 4 or 5 rebounds just purely based on him tapping them out.
For that.
You should,
yeah.
But I was tracking the stats. Every time he tipped one out and it was like Curry or Pajemski who would pick it up, the rebounds went to those. And Steph finished with 8.
The leading rebounder.
I think at least like 3 of those were courtesy of Draymond tap outs. So Steph, 8 rebounds, congrats. A lot of those were thanks to Draymond Green. But it's a team effort. And that is kind of what defines Draymond Green, the basketball player. He is always willing to do all of that dirty work, and that was clearly, you pointed it out, we saw it very early, clearly part of the game plan against like a 6'11" Jaren Jackson and a 7'3", 7'4" Zach Edey. You're not going to out-jump them. You're not going to grab the ball away from them. Just tap it out. You've got more guards out there, quicker guys that can track it down, and it worked out. Despite you getting beat on the glass overall, that's probably going to happen versus this team. I didn't think it was... the Warriors could have been worse on the glass, I think, in this game than they were, considering the size disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, some of it also comes down to the Grizzlies just getting second chance opportunities off of missed shots at the rim. They took a lot of threes in this game, and they made a decent amount of their threes. But like this is why Draymond probably had more than 6 rebounds in this game.
Yes,
like he
no doubt
was, to me, a double-digit rebounder the way that he played and created rebounding opportunities for other people. That's also why, I'm sorry, the 17 rebounds for Zach Edey to me are not that impressive.
Oh, they don't count, huh?
No, they don't. And in fact, his plus 6 doesn't count either. I thought Zach Edey stunk in this game for the most part, and people might disagree with me. The number that you need to look at for Zach Edey is the amount of field goals missed when you're 7'4" and a player on the other team is not rising above 6'10", and you miss 7 field goals, all of which are at the rim. The amount of bunnies that he could not put down, combined with on the other side, Jimmy Butler hunted him like a hawk. And pretty much whenever the Warriors had an opportunity to try and double team him to force the ball out of his hands in the paint or go at him on the other end, I thought they did a really good job of taking advantage of it. And I understand that's how Memphis plays, but I actually think that Edey hurt them in this basketball game.
There was a point early in the third, and I guess I should rewind first because I'm with you. I love the way the Warriors attacked a matchup they felt they had an advantage in, and I feel like that's an area where maybe the Warriors of late haven't been the best at. They have since kind of changed their philosophy in that regard with Jimmy Butler because oftentimes they feel like they have a mismatch and one that is worth taking advantage of and one that pays off at a really high rate. But oftentimes I feel like they stick to their offense, they stick to the motion, they stick to their plan when you can just throw the ball into the post to your guy, let him go to work, and let him get a bucket or get to the free throw line. So I really liked that and the way the Warriors, I think, are adapting their offense to Jimmy Butler. But I was also shocked that after what Jimmy Butler did in the first half against Zach Edey, that Memphis, started Zach Edey again to begin the second half and kept him guarding Jimmy Butler. It made no sense to me. And within 2 minutes of the third quarter, Jimmy had scored 4 points on him and drawn 2 more fouls on him. It was his third and fourth fouls of the game. And I was thinking in that moment, when Zach Edey checked out with those 4 fouls early in the third, that actually might not be a good thing for Jimmy and the Warriors. Because as you mentioned, it was barbecue chicken every time Jimmy had the ball versus Zach Edey.
They were plus 7 in the next 2 minutes without him. They immediately started to score.
So, I know ultimately the stats suggest he was a plus 6 overall, but I'm with you. I thought Zach Edey had no positive impact on the Grizzlies, or a very minimal one at most. And it was to the point where him picking up 4 fouls early in the second half and him checking out, I felt like it was a negative for the Warriors.
just so happened that Memphis started to get back into the game right after that point. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings, Mark Grandy. Warriors wrap up here at Chase Center, 121-116, the final score for the Warriors tonight as they punch their ticket to the postseason, the playoffs, round 1 against the Houston Rockets, officially on Sunday, 6:30 tip-off Pacific time. If you want to get in, chime in. The text line is open. Phone lines are open. We see you on YouTube and Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's go out to Caleb in Livermore. Wants to talk about play-in Jimmy. Caleb, what's up, man?
My guys, Mark and Evan, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Doing great, man. How are you?
Hey, I want to do something real quick. Let's clap it up for playoff Jimmy or playing Jimmy. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
At the end of the day, guys, look, the Warriors finally have another guy. G-U-Y. Another guy that, at the end of the day, when Steph doesn't have it going, it's not like, oh, man, it's over. They have another guy where they can throw the ball to, get a bucket. If he's not getting a bucket, he can drive, kick it to others. He facilitates. He obviously defends on a high level. He rebounds. And the one thing that's going under the radar is his leadership and how he's holding the young guys around him accountable, and just the chemistry he has with the young guys, whether it's with Pajemski, Moody, Quentin Post. I mean, Jimmy Butler. I mean, it's about to be playoff Jimmy, man, and he just gives this team another whole dimension. And I know the whole thing is everyone's going to try to compare this and Andrew Wiggins. Look, Andrew Wiggins was great for that team at that time. They don't win that championship without Andrew, one of the best two-way players, in the game at that time. Like, Andrew was great, really good player, but Jimmy is he's a superstar, man. It's just levels, and he's definitely with Jimmy and Steph, you have a chance now in a playoff series because you have two guys.
No doubt, Caleb. Well, and actually, to your point, after the game, Jimmy Butler, who, and you were pointing this out, may have been obligated to go to the podium and speak after this game because it's the play-in or the playoffs, but this is the first time I can recall him actually going to the podium at home. He said, quote, "I think any team has a chance when I'm on the team, but I know every team has a chance if Steph's on the team. I get to play Robin. That's my Batman."
Well, he was the Batman through 3 quarters of this game. There's absolutely Steph brought this one home, but there would have been nothing to bring home if Jimmy wasn't Jimmy through the first 3 quarters.
But to Caleb's point, that's why I think the Warriors believe they have action. We'll find out how deep they can go in the playoffs, and Houston's going to be a tough test, but they have 2 Batmen that don't mind also being Robin. Like, they can switch capes, they can don different masks at different times in different games. And that's why I think they're dangerous. Because Curry, if he doesn't have it going, doesn't mind giving it to Jimmy Butler, who could hunt a Zach Edey or a switch that he gets, and the Warriors can play a little more isolation. If Steph has it going down the stretch after Jimmy's carried them with 34 points through 3 quarters, then he can go to Steph, give the ball to him, and they can close out a team like Memphis. That's why I think that they're scary, because they have multiple ways to play through both of their stars. And so I wouldn't necessarily look at either of them as Batman and Robin, but at different points of the game, each of them can wear that suit. And that's why I think, again, if you talk about 2 aces in the hole, they have that. And not a lot of teams in the postseason do, but the best ones do, and that's why I would give them a chance in any series.
I also think that when you have this kind of relationship, and it's like a symbiotic relationship where one helps the other, even if it is one-sided for a stretch, or like it was for generally the first 3 quarters when it was Jimmy doing a lot of the heavy lifting, there's no doubt, Evan, that even though Steph played 38 minutes and 39 seconds, the load on Steph in those nearly 39 minutes of basketball, entirely different than the load would have been on him, say, if he played 39 minutes in a game in January, where you didn't have Jimmy Butler, and he had to do the heavy lifting through all 4 quarters of that basketball game. Not that Steph isn't working hard through the first 3 quarters, but when you have Jimmy, who can score 34 points through 3 quarters, I'm sure even when Steph is playing more minutes than usual, he feels a little more fresh and capable of doing what he did in the 4th quarter tonight, which is why I think, to your point, if you get those 2 working in relationship together like they were tonight, it's going to be difficult for anyone to beat the Warriors 4 times out of 7 if you get that kind of performance. Because even when one is controlling a basketball game, it does not mean the other is having a bad game. It just means that that other person is saving up some energy for when you really need it. And that's what happened in this game. I mean, through 3 quarters, Steph had 22 points on 5 of 13 shooting, 3 of 9 from downtown. Yes. Like, 22 points, nothing to scoff at, but he was not efficient in this game at all through 3 quarters. And I think as a result of Jimmy freeing him up, I guess is a good way to say it, it allowed him to have the energy to take over in the fourth quarter and bring this game home for the Warriors with those threes and with getting to the free throw line and all of that. I don't think that he's capable of doing that necessarily at this age if Jimmy isn't there to take the load off of him through 3 quarters.
No, I also think the pressure that Jimmy puts on the rim also helps Steph get to the free throw line because
no
of the
doubt.
amount of foul trouble that the opposing team is going to be in. That's why Steph can go to the line 13 times in this game. The one thing that does concern me, and I guess, look, you got 75 points from your best 2 players, but the combination of Podziemski, I'll throw Moody in there, even though I thought he was really good on Ja Morant tonight, even before Ja kind of twisted his ankle on that floater baseline.
Locked him down, final play of the first half.
Yeah, he just tossed that bleep. Like he picked him. Ja tried to go up. He threw it to the side and walked into the locker room. But combined between him and you got to throw Buddy Hield in there too because he's someone that's supposed to be able to come in and knock down threes. Those 3 players combined to go 2 for 12 from 3-point range. And if the Warriors are going to make noise in the playoffs, it cannot just be Curry and Butler. It has to be role players getting in on the action. And at the very least, you got some stuff from GP2 and Post tonight. But if Pods and Moody are going to start, like they're going to have to start scoring.
Yeah, you can win, like, the greatness of Steph and Jimmy can win you a game, 2 games in a playoff series over the course of a 6 or 7 game series. Like, they are that good. They can almost single-handedly do it. They didn't do it single-handed tonight, but you know what I mean. When they combine for 75 points, they could do that once or twice over the course of a 7-game series. But in order to win 4 games in a series, you're going to need Podziemski to give you, 18 points in a handful of games. You're going to need Moody to make 3 threes in a couple of games. You're going to need Buddy Hield to maybe not catch fire, but have a game where he makes 4 from downtown and gives you 15 points. You can't just rely on a 37-year-old Steph and a 35-year-old Jimmy to win you all 4 games in a series. They're good enough to get you a couple, but they can't do it all by themselves. So I'm with you. When you're taking on Houston, and if you get past Houston and you're taking on LeBron or whoever it is, you're going to need more from the others. And I would even throw Draymond Green in there offensively as well. He was good defensively, but I would throw Draymond in there on offense too.
Yeah, I mean, he can get hot from 3. He can also chuck. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app. YouTube and Twitch powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Evan Giddings, Mark Grandi here on Warriors Wrap Up 121-116. Warriors beat Memphis in the 7-8 play-in game, and they are on to Houston Sunday, Game 1, 6:30 tip, Pacific Standard Time. Let's go to Rich in Fremont. Again, 888-957-9570 is the number. Rich, what's up, my man?
What's up, guys? Hey, thanks for taking my call. I think this game is a game where really, they grinded it out, which I'm glad to see. I think the thing that I'm most displeased with is this is a game where, once again, it came down to the last seconds, and I'm just tired of watching this movie. I feel like, when are we going to get a game where you guys start realizing that there's certain things you have to do during the game so that you're not having an Alka-Seltzer game on every single game that's played? Okay, it's just, I'm sorry, it's heart-wrenching. Okay, you won tonight, and that's great, and I wanted to see you win because I'm a fan. I've been a fan since the days of Charles Johnson because I met him personally. But my point is this. You're in the playoffs now, and understand this type of play is not going to work well for you in the next region of what you're doing. This is the playoffs. You're dealing with the cream of the cream now. Look, these teams are not going to allow you to get in their head in the last seconds. These teams are working hard. They're playing just as hard as you, and they are hungrier than you are. And I say that. They are. They're hungrier. And guess what? if you don't play defense, okay, throughout a game, you're going to be dealing with Alka-Seltzer games like you did tonight and what you did in the last 3 games. And they shouldn't be those type of games. They're there. Why? Because you guys are not closing out perimeter defense, and you're not stopping teams from scoring. You're trading baskets with these teams. And you cannot do that once you're in the playoffs. You have to get to a point where you're shutting teams down and you're scoring enough points so your wins are more convincing, not with seconds left and by 5 points by a win. Okay? I'm sorry. This is not going to work well for you. It's not.
I got you, Rich.
And it's sad. It's sad because, no, honestly, let me finish this now. I'll stop. Look, it's sad because I am a diehard Warrior fan. But these type of games, I'm sorry, it can go either way. And in the end, it's not going to work well. I'm sorry. Thanks, guys.
I got you, Rich. Well, I hope you enjoyed the win at some point in this evening because you are a fan, and I know you love the station, and I've met you before. You're a good dude. This was the kind of game that also didn't go their way on Sunday against the Clippers. Like, I agree to some extent, but to me, that's not the conversation for tonight. You punched your ticket to the postseason. You got 4 days to rest up for a Houston Rockets team that, to your point, Rich, are a hungry team. But in regards to last-minute execution and kind of heady play, I wouldn't necessarily put the Rockets in that category. We'll have a lot of time to break down the X's and O's of that series, but overall, I think that the feeling is joy, less or more so than relief.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And, yeah, there were some issues in this game. Steph gives you a 6-point lead with a minute left. And I know there were some questionable calls, and that's questionable is putting it lightly. The Podziemski block.
I thought both of them were pretty bad.
Pretty darn clean. And then the Looney fighting Edey for a rebound, and you call a loose ball foul on Looney. The Grizzlies are over the limit, and it sends them to the free throw line. I'll hear Rich, the Draymond foul where he fouled out on the inbound when Desmond Bane catches the ball along the sideline, and Draymond kind of gave him a little bit of a shove. You can't do that, Draymond. But all those foul calls allowed the Grizzlies to get back in this game because it took no time off the clock. It gave them free throws, and then they could extend the game that way without taking any time off the clock. But so there were some issues. This is also playoff basketball. This is what postseason basketball is. I know we not make fun, but we've talked a lot about how Memphis has really struggled of late. They just fired their head coach like 2.5 weeks ago. But, I mean, this is a team full of really good players. Ja Morant is amazing. Desmond Bane had a magnificent game today. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a really, really good player. A volume shooter today, but he's a hell of a player. Like, they've got some. Santi Aldama is he always gives the Warriors trouble. Like,
I think he stinks too.
This is not a bad basketball team, and this is just what happens in postseason basketball. The Warriors, they got the win. Like, I think it would surprise a lot of Warrior fans if you go back through like the Warriors postseason history and you find like a series versus the Pelicans where the Warriors swept that series. How many of those games were games in the fourth quarter? Like, so many of these games are close. The Warriors, throughout their run, has just oftentimes when the game is close, they always come out on top. And that's what happened today. Like, you have to do this in the postseason. They didn't do it on Sunday, but a lot of your postseason games, I don't care who your opponent is going to come down to the final 5 minutes. And this time the Warriors came out on top.
Yeah, and look, if you want to say that this was a game that they didn't play their best in, when it comes to the postseason, if you win a game like this, we frame it as stealing a game. We don't frame it as, well, the Warriors got lucky. It's like you're going to have to figure out how to win 4 out of 7. That's not easy to do. And so you have to find ways to win games where you're not at your best. And I think, obviously, Jimmy was near his best tonight. Curry in the fourth quarter was near his best. But the team as a whole did not play their best in this game. And so I'm encouraged from that standpoint that they were still able to weather the storm and beat the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's go out to Coach Duran, who's at Chase Center. What's up, Coach?
What's up?
You like the win?
Hey, Mark, Evan, what's up, fellas? Oh, dude, that was a gigantic win. I'm pumped up, juice, excited. Warriors get the win. Only a few points, but, hey, when fourth quarter hits, crunch time is on the line, Warriors pulled through. That was magnificent, man. An exuberant win. I smell like Big Nick's barbecue pit still with the pulled pork and brisket. But yeah, I'm so glad to see the Warriors win. First round, Houston, here we come on Sunday. Let's go, Dub Nation.
Thanks, Coach.
That's the energy we're looking for, Coach.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, someone's got to give it to him. No, I think, you can absolutely nitpick this win. I mean, if you want to say, look, Ja Morant got hurt and that limited down the stretch, I'll hear that.
They made a run right when Ja went out, too.
Yeah, I mean, he also, I was surprised he came back in the game.
Yeah.
What was it like with 9 minutes left?
Something like that.
I saw him trying to put weight on his foot on the sideline before the timeout in which he checked back in, and it did not look like it was going to go very well.
He stayed down for a while.
But he had some springs there, and, by the way, they also reviewed it. It was not a flagrant foul on Hield. He kind of inadvertently got under Ja Morant. But, that's a break for the Warriors. But you still have to find a way to win the game. Mm-hmm. Gary Payton II was also extremely impactful in this game, missed a large chunk between, I think it was the third and the fourth quarter. He went to the locker room and then came back with a heat pack on his knee. The Warriors they've found a way to sort of weather injuries. Curry's playing obviously with a hurt thumb. I don't know how much pain Butler was or wasn't in because he looks invincible, but he took a shot at the end of the Clippers game and then came back and looked 100%. I don't know how many injections and pills and tablets all these guys are taking at this point of the year, but nobody's 100%. If anything, the injury, I guess, risk for an older team is something that does concern me, but it's obviously nothing you can prepare for.
No, you can't. And it's why getting the win today was so important because you don't get the full week off. Although Steve Kerr did say pregame he's not sure if NBA teams want a full week off at this point, which was interesting. The Warriors,
I don't know if NBA teams don't, but they do.
The Warriors might.
Yeah.
They still get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday off before they play Sunday. And the way the schedule breaks out, Evan, and we've got to hit a quick break here, but the way the schedule plays out, you play Sunday, you have Monday, Tuesday off, you play Wednesday, you have Thursday, Friday off, you play Saturday. So if that's going to benefit one team more than the other, it's probably the Warriors than the Rockets.
You would think so. We can talk about that and much more when we return. 888-957-9570 is the number. I see you, Roque and Alameda, along with everyone who's called in so far. We'll get to some of your texts on the other side, along with Steve Kerr as well. All ahead here as we move on Warriors wrap-up. Warriors are into the playoffs. 121-116 over Memphis tonight. Evan Giddings, Mark Randy back after this. 95.7 The Game.
and he gets another foul call.
Wow, is that strong.
Man-like move by Butler.
Not only was it a man-like move, he finished with the left hand.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
All right, the Warriors sink the Memphis Grizzlies, sending them to the 9-10 play-in, and they move on to the first round of the playoffs behind 75 combined points from Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. 33 of Jimmy's come in the first 3 quarters of this game. Steph saves his best for last as over the final 2 minutes he knocks down 2 big threes. Free throws ensue, and he ends with a total of 37 points, 13 of 13 at the free throw line, and also the Warriors' leading rebounder. But the Warriors tonight, again, they use their Batman and Robin, whatever mask you would have put on which character, they use them to overcome Memphis and set up a date with the Houston Rockets. But you know, when you think about this game, Grandy, do you think about what Draymond Green said? I believe it was against San Antonio when he was downtrodden. He talked about their lack of grit. Tonight, I thought they showed enough grit. Was it a perfect game? No. Did they catch some breaks? Yes. Did they have some things go against them? Like basically 3 free points being handed to Memphis after they go up 117 to 111 with 50 seconds left. And the refs essentially gift them a couple free throws. I thought the Warriors did what they had to do. They dug deep, and they had what they did not against the San Antonio Spurs on Wednesday, and that was grit.
Yeah, no, this definitely was a grittier performance. You might also be able to say something similar about the way that it ended against the Clippers a couple of days ago. I think a true test of, I don't know if a team's character exactly, but like you have what happened in the final minute. And, you know, we could talk about bad calls. The Podziemski block, to me, looked pretty clean. The Looney loose ball foul against Edey when they're fighting for a rebound, that seems like a play on. This is playoff basketball. Like, let's let these guys play through some contact here. That's, you know, a couple of rough calls, I think. I think there were a couple of weird ones that went in favor of the Warriors earlier in the game. I don't think the ref crew was great in this game, whatever. But when you have some things like that go against you late in a game and you find a way to fight through it, whether it was forcing a 5-second violation, I don't have to bring out my stopwatch. Was it really 5 seconds? We could figure that one out. But something like that, making your free throws down the stretch, being able to get the ball inbounded, like small things like that, they add up over time. And honestly, not so much with Jimmy Butler, but pre-Jimmy Butler, it was things like that. It was not inbounding the ball correctly, a turnover late, missing free throws that cost the Warriors like 5 different wins this year. Just doing those small things more often than the other team. In a close game, generally the basketball gods favor the team that does those small things better. And the Warriors did the small things for the most part better. They only had 10 turnovers today. 10 turnovers today. Now, if you want to be on Rich's side and be a little scared about this performance, you committed 10 turnovers and your 2 stars combined for 75 points, and you had to hang on for dear life against the 8th seed in the West. So, like, there is reason to believe that this team can play a whole lot better, but bottom line, you eked out a win. You scraped and clawed your way through this one. You got the job done. You're a playoff team. Now it's back to square one, and you get ready for the Rockets. Plenty of room to grow, but you did what you had to do.
All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Still got Steve Kerr coming up for you here post-game. Let's go out to Roque in Alameda. Roque, what's going on? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. How are you?
Hey, what's up? Hey, I called the previous call. I said, you got to play smart. Like 10 turnovers, that's pretty damn good, okay? But despite these referees, I know they don't like us, okay? We got 3 bad calls there. Green getting ejected, and oh my God, we got Podziemski, clean block, all that. Oh, I don't know what's going on, but then again, you know what? It pays back. I think the referee there, they made it up by 5-second calls there. You know, it's like a makeup call. But let's forget about it. We won, okay? But tonight, I'm gonna give it 2. Oh my God, Jimmy Butler and Curry. Okay, Curry, the turnover he had 8 the previous. Oh my God, we had 10 tonight, and how much is that? That's a lot of difference. But I will take that any day. If you can only minimize your turnover, you're going to win the game. Okay? And also, you know what gets me is Looney. Come on, rebound. He's not in the picture all the time. Okay, we won the game. It's all good. Other than that, Buddy Hield, he's so-and-so. Yeah, Santos, thank God they put him in there. He did a little damage in there, playing defense, a little rough in there, but he helped out. And I like that. Steve Kerr put him in there, and he didn't put him there last previous game.
I got
and
you, okay.
Also, Paczynski, he needs to clean up once in a while, too, but he's okay. We won the game. We'll see you on Sunday, okay?
Thanks,
you.
Roque. Appreciate the call, man. Yeah, I mean, look, they need other guys to step up. There's no doubt about that. But to be fair, like, these are the kinds of games you could get from younger, less experienced postseason performers. Pods has not played in a playoff series yet. Moses Moody has not been a starter in a playoff series yet. Even Buddy Hield, who's been in the league for quite some time, has not had that much experience playing postseason games. Quentin Post is obviously a rookie. So the expectations or the performances are going to fluctuate. And that's why you have Batman and Robin to carry you in games in which those guys don't show up. And you just hope that come Sunday, game 1 against Houston, that you don't see those kinds of performances from the role players.
Yeah, no, you are. I'm singling out. Not a single guy, but a group of like 3. It's Moody, it's Podziemski, and it's Draymond specifically. I mean, those are 3 of your starters. Those 3 combined for 16 points. You're probably not going to beat the Rockets. Like it's pretty straightforward there. I know Draymond does a whole lot more than just score. Same for Moses Moody. You're right. His defense on Ja Morant for stretches in this game was really, really impressive. But generally speaking, you're a starter. You have to impact the game on both ends, or you have to be otherworldly on one end, like Stephen Curry is. I think he's always been underrated as a defender, but he is one of the best offensive players to ever play this game. You're a starter in a playoff series. You have to have a positive impact on both ends of the floor, and for the most part, that didn't happen for the majority of your starting 5, and you still find a way to win this game. So there's no doubt. Those 3 specifically need to be better if you're going to have any chance to win a playoff series or a couple playoff series.
Let's go to E. Solom in Chicago. E, what's going on, my man? How we doing?
Hey, I'm back for attack, man. Congratulations to the Dubs, man. We did our thing, Kudos for the Dubs, just coming through, man, grinding out. I'm still concerned. I'm so concerned because even though thank God for Jimmy Butler, let's get that out of the way. Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry, the superstars. You got to get those kudos to them because Jimmy Butler, he came from Chicago, he was drafted here, and so it feels so great seeing him. But it's something. I'm still kind of upset because Kuminga. I know we won, and I'm happy about that, but. Come on now, it's the AC. I feel like we shouldn't even be in the situation that we're in right now. And I just feel like what Kuminga has done for us this whole season, it doesn't feel right. Just him not being a DNP for 2 straight playoff games, 2 straight games where we could be eliminated. I feel like if he was in the lineup, at least give him at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just see what he has. This would never have happened to where we will even be in this situation. Now I understand that Kerr has his ways and stuff like that, and I know Kerr is a great coach. He won us championships in Chicago, so I'm cool with that. But at the end of the day, I'm a Dubs fan, and I'm tired of having anxiety of seeing that we're making all these mistakes and seeing that we're bringing out these small lineups. We're playing against all these Goliath teams. When we're like the Jack of the NBA. I'm tired of it. I want to see us really prosper, and I feel like Kuminga is a great Scottie Pippen or a great Avenger to this lineup that we have. I don't see what he's seeing, and I know he's a coach, but man, I feel like it's a new beginning. It's a new beginning, so I know it's a new start. So I'm not gonna go too crazy with it, but at least. Let's see what he has because I saw way more than what I don't know. It might be just be me, but man, Kuminga is a great player. I feel like he has great potential, and I felt like we wouldn't even be in the situation where everybody is excited because we made the playoffs, we 7 seed. Great, but this guy can stick a lot of players, and he has the ability to be that guy that can play with Jimmy. People keep saying he can't play with Jimmy. He can play with Jimmy. I will talk about the game. Well, we should have already won this game. We're champions already. Let's get back to that mode, and let's put him into the equation so we can go to the championships. I mean, I don't know. That's just me. I'm sorry. I might be binging. People are excited and happy, but I have a lot of anxiety right now. I'm kind of hurt a little bit because I feel for this guy. I feel like he has a lot of potential to make us greater than what we are.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, I do agree that the Warriors need to find another level if they're going to be a team that wants to consider themselves, a championship contender. I do think they have to play better, but I got some good news for you. Sounds like Draymond Green thinks that Jonathan Kuminga is going to play in the Houston series.
What did he say?
He said, quote, he'll contribute. The challenge for him is to stay mentally engaged. Your thoughts? Well, I didn't think about Jonathan Kuminga tonight. I'm going to be honest. I didn't expect him to play after what Kerr kind of doubled down on pregame. Yeah. And with the way that the game played out, could he have helped? Perhaps. But he didn't really cross my mind.
What I will say is the decision the last two games to not play Kuminga, it surprised me, but I can understand why. We don't need to get into all the specifics of it. We've had this conversation endlessly over the last couple of months, and I understand there's a lot of people out there who disagree, and that's fine. We can feel the way that we feel and think how we think about Kuminga. What I will say is the risk you run, Evan, by taking Kuminga out of the rotation yesterday or on Sunday and on today, is when you get to a spot when you do need him, like against a young, long, athletic, quick team like Houston, you run the risk of when you play him again that he's not, as Draymond says, in the right, mental state. He needs to stay mentally engaged. Kuminga at times has shown that when he gets pulled out of the rotation, he tends to take it personally, and I don't blame him. I think I would in the same exact situation. So that might be something that's on the Warriors' minds, on Steve Kerr's mind. But bottom line, if you think not playing Kuminga gives you a better chance to win a basketball game right now, you do that, and then you cross whatever bridge comes up later, and that's maybe what the Warriors are going to face with Houston. Because there's no doubt, athletically, Kuminga matches up with this Houston series. They're going to need someone of his physical ability just to be out there to match up athletically with Amen Thompson, with Jabari Smith, and with Jalen Green, because the Warriors don't have a lot of guys who match that kind of profile. Yeah, I mean, the question is how much Jimmy do you get and how much does that impede Jonathan? Because they've only played the Rockets twice with Jimmy Butler on the roster. The first time was right before the All-Star break when they won the back-to-back after they had lost to Dallas. Yeah. I thought that Houston was kind of in second gear, to be honest, in that game. And then they came out and they kind of took it to you at home right before you lost to San Antonio. So it's going to be a tough matchup. But I do agree that Kuminga in an ideal world should fit. But I'm not putting it past the head coach to just completely rely on this group that we saw tonight, which includes Guy Santos before Jonathan Kuminga. And Guy had an impact right when he checked in. Yeah, he immediately had an and one, like the first possession after he checked in. Off his own offensive rebound. And then was screaming, and he was diving on the floor. Yep. He does Guy Santos things. Even Post dove on the floor. Had a 7-footer going headlong on the floor. I was worried that he wasn't going to get up from that one. Post is an interesting guy. I really like him, but he's got a little pods to him. He complains about just about every single call. He also has irrational confidence, like Podziemski. Yeah, like there was one play. Pippen was fighting through a screen, and I think he might have fouled Curry in doing so. But then Post just shoulder checked him, knocked him to the floor, and looked at the ref and what did I do? I didn't commit that foul. All right, let's hear from the head coach, Steve Kerr, post game here on Warriors Wrap Up. Evan Giddings, Mark Grandy after the 121-116 win.
Steve, a whole lot was going on in that game. Maybe not as high level as Sunday, but was it more like a gutsy game for your guys? Kind of just one they just had to just grind it out there at the end?
Yeah, it was, it's a playoff game, even though, it disappears into the ether, as we all know. There's no record of it, but it's a playoff game. And, I tried to downplay it a little bit before the game, but we desperately needed to win this game and get 4 days. Our guys have been basically playing knockout games for about 3 weeks, and one high-level game after another. And so to get this one took 83 games, but we're right where we want to be, which is back in the playoffs, and we've got a chance. But maybe most importantly, we get the time to rest and prepare, because these guys need that desperately right now.
Were you surprised how much they were kind of sagging off Jimmy?
No, I mean they started Zach Edey on Jimmy, and we kind of anticipated that, and I understand the philosophy, but Jimmy is so good and so crafty that even if you're not up on him, even if you give him 10 feet of space, he knows how to draw fouls. And what did he get? 18 shots. From the foul line. That's just who Jimmy is. He controls games. That's why he is who he is. He's able to, in these big moments, these big games, he just settles you down constantly.
Could you sense that he knew early if they were going to, if that was the scheme they were going to use, he was going to need to kind of. If that was the scheme they were going to use, that he would need to kind of down the score.
I mean, we talked about it at shoot around this morning. We anticipated that matchup, and he just told me, I don't care who guards me, just give me space, give me the ball, I'll make something happen. And that's the beauty of Jimmy. I mean, you guys can see it. Like we have morphed into a different team. We've got the movement and the flow of Steph, but we've also become, for half the game, a great ISO team. We've never been an ISO team here, and there's great advantage to that, to be able to get to the line, to be able to generate offense without having to fly around and set a million screens. So Jimmy has completely changed everything for us since he's been here, and tonight was a great example of that.
Tonight in the non-Steph minutes, you talk about flying around and getting offense going. You saw your role players getting so many 50-50 balls and getting you guys extra opportunities. When you think about trying to incorporate them, what was the message to those guys, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, all the guys coming off the bench to incorporate themselves into the game? What was important for them to do? We talked about it at shoot-around this morning. The whole point of the game was to win the battles, just to win every loose ball, every rebound. This is a big, strong team, great rebounding team, and you saw it happened a few times because they got 16 offensive boards. Edey had 7 himself. When they get an offensive board and they're kicking it out to Jaren Jackson or Desmond Bain, I mean, it's a wide open three. And so the focus was really on, scrapping and getting to every loose ball. I thought the guys really fought hard. Guy only played, 6 minutes, but, 3 rebounds. He was flying around out there. Every possession matters, and I thought our guys played that way.
Against a big team like Houston that you're about to play, how valuable is it, Jimmy's skill set, to be able to guard guys who are 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot?
Yeah, I mean, he's the ultimate two-way player. He's just, so physically strong and laterally quick, and he anticipates things, he reads things. So Jimmy's a great defensive player. He and Draymond behind the play allow us to, play smaller without giving up too much.
He's a very smart defensive player. Jimmy Butler's a very smart defensive player. I'm not sure he still is the great point of attack defender he once was. That was also a little bit leaky tonight for the Warriors. But obviously, with Jimmy, what he did offensively, what Curry did in the fourth quarter offensively, that's really what they needed to put away Memphis. And for the second time in not too long, beat a team that, at least over the recent years, has kind of given them fits. So, big win for the Warriors, their first play-in win in franchise history, and they needed it to get to the first round and now play a Houston Rockets team that, in a way, Mark, I know that people were down coming off the Clippers game on Sunday, understandably so, but they put the pressure on themselves to win this game, give them their credit, they did it, and now they play a team that, honestly, I don't know about you, I think of the 2 through 5, the teams that they may have been able to play, this is the team that I would want them to play.
Most recent loss to Houston doesn't change your mind on that?
I don't think that Houston is experienced enough. I think they're also not a very smart basketball team, and I don't think they can score enough.
I think they're lacking that go-to scorer once it gets tough down the stretch. And what happened?
They're dogs. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, they are, and they're tough to play against. It's going to be a physical series. They don't really seem afraid of anybody, and they take after their head coach Ime Udoka in that regard. I mean, he's going to talk trash as much as Dylan Brooks is going to talk trash, and that is a ton. It's just what Ime and that Rockets team does. I'm a little. If I'm Houston, I'm concerned that when I get into a close game in the postseason, I don't have a go-to guy on offense, and the Warriors have Steph and Jimmy Butler. So I think that's advantage Warriors there. If you could have guaranteed me the Warriors won this game today, and would it be the 7 seed playing Houston as opposed to winning on Sunday and being the 6 seed and playing the Lakers, I think you could have convinced me that would have been the better path. Rockets, better path than the Lakers. I just didn't want to have to deal with the possibilities of a one-game play-in. But now that this is over, I think you can definitely look at this Warrior path as being potentially easier than what it would have been had they won Sunday. I think they would have still preferred to win Sunday and have this whole week off, but you still have 4 full days off. You have 2 days between each of the first 3 games of this series. You're going to be pretty well rested. You're going to feel almost as good as you possibly could physically at this point in the season as you can, considering the time off that they're going to get now.
Yeah, I know it sounds kind of crazy, and we do have to wrap up in here in a couple of minutes, but my final thought is the way that this played out, I know that the Warriors won this game by a slim margin. I know it took heroic performances from Jimmy Butler through the first 3 quarters and Steph in the fourth quarter. But if you could tell me that you get the Houston Rockets in the first round with 4 days of rest, you also get 2 days of rest between game 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
This is the perfect scenario for the Warriors entering the playoffs to maximize their potential of making a run. It doesn't mean that they're going to win a championship. Hell, it may not mean that they beat the Houston Rockets. But I think the way that the end of this season played out, despite losing their last 3 home games, despite not beating the Clippers in overtime on Sunday, this has played out the most favorably for them to get a series victory and play a team that I think they have an advantage over. So to me, I realize that it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but I think this is what the Warriors would have scripted out if you asked them, say, 2 weeks ago.
I think the other part, and it's dangerous to look ahead, and if you have eyes on being a legitimate contender, if you have eyes on being a legitimate contender to win a championship, you're going to have to beat good teams to do that. So I don't know how much the Warriors care about this. I personally do care about this, Evan. You're also on the other half of the bracket of OKC. And I don't know how you feel about OKC. OKC scares the hell out of me. I think they are by far the best team in the Western Conference. And if I am the Warriors trying to make the finals, I want to play OKC as late as possible. So 1, you can get to that point without having to play them. And 2, you give a couple of other teams a chance to beat them first. Maybe the Clippers beat the Nuggets and then they beat OKC in the second round, although the Clippers have the Warriors number as well. So I don't know who the Warriors will be rooting for there, but I think you also are you have the added benefit of being opposite of OKC in the bracket.
And to take it a step further, you have the teams that you've played the best on your side of the bracket. You have Houston, Los Angeles to a lesser extent, but you look pretty good against them in the one Jimmy game, and then Minnesota, who you played better throughout this season. So, I think it works out for the Warriors, and we'll see, obviously, they can get it done starting on Sunday, game 1 at Houston.
Easter.
Yes, and 420. A reminder that Steph Curry was crashing the boards tonight, brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. Big thank you to everybody who called in tonight, everybody who's texted in tonight, our YouTube and Twitch chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Big thank you to Cam Williams, our network coordinator back in our Laughing Monk studios for 95.7 The Game, and Chris O'Connell cutting things up, chopping all the sound up, making it sound great for us here at Chase Center. For my broadcast partner, Mark Grandy, my name is Evan Giddings. We will talk to you on Sunday. But in the meantime, lock in tomorrow, 6 to 10, Spadoni and Shasky in the morning. Of course, Steiny and Gruber from 10 to 2, Wilder and Dibbs from 2 to 6. It's going to be all dubs all day. They are into the playoffs, and they have won a play-in game as they defeat the Memphis Grizzlies 121 to 116. We appreciate you tuning in to this edition of Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. We'll talk to you next time.
For full details, including terms and conditions, visit unlock.com/legal. Call 1-888-780-6855.